Hi, I'm Rachel Tessman from StampYourArtOut.com, and today I'm going to share with you the cards that are in this project kit on page 34 in the 2017 holiday catalog from Stampin' Up. You can make 20 Christmas cards with this kit, and you'll need the Watercolor Christmas coordinating stamp set and a few other supplies in order to make those 20 cards. The supplies that you'll need in addition to the stamp set will be a basic black ink pad and then 3 adhesives, the Fast Fuse, Dimensionals, and some fine tip glue. That's it. That's all you'll need to make those 20 cards. But let's say you want to get more out of this kit. I don't always make just 20 cards for Christmas unless I'm doing something special. I usually make, I don't know, like over 100. But let's say you're making 80. 80 Christmas cards is what I hear from most of my friends, kind of average. So this kit, if you were going to do 80 cards, you'd have to buy 4 of these kits in addition to those supplies that I already mentioned, right? But I'm going to show you in this video how to take those cards and recreate the pieces in there to make double the amount of cards. So each kit will make you 40 cards instead of 20. Now you'll need to add some extra envelopes, of course, and that's in US dollars, $6.50. And then you'll need a pack of Whisper White cardstock. And US dollars, that's $9. So instead of spending $80 on 4 kits, you'll spend $40 on 2 kits and then the additional $9 and $6.50, and that will save you, I think, about $25. So that's a good thing. Now, of course, you'll also need your clear blocks, your paper snips or scissors, and in order to make some card bases, we'll need a trimmer. Okay, let's get started. So what I'm going to do now is share with you the pieces that we needed to make the intended cards for the kit. We're going to separate those out, and then I'm going to show you how to split those up to make 8 cards instead of 4. So these are the pieces that I used to make the Merriest Christmas Wishes red card. So you have these little punch outs here, the white circle. Okay, for this card we needed the card base, this label piece, the red strip, and a strip of sequin trim. For this one, we need the card base, the sequin trim, the red piece, and then this one here. And for this card, we need its card base, this label piece, the banner piece, and that sequin trim. Okay? So we're going to set these aside, because that's not what we're making. We're going to bring in 6 more card bases, and I made these with the paper trimmer. Let me demonstrate that for you real quickly. You'll take a sheet of Whisper White cardstock, which is 8.5 by 11, and you'll put it in horizontally into your paper trimmer at the 5.5 inch mark. Make sure that your paper is flush with the top of your trimmer, or the bottom if you like to work that way. There's also a little ridge at the bottom. And you're going to use the cutting blade and slice it in half. So now you have a 5.5 instead of 11 inch piece that is 5.5 by 8.5. And we now need to score it in the middle, put a score line in the middle of that length here, of this direction, so that we can actually fold our card easier. Now you can fold it by hand in half, but the scoring blade makes it so much easier. So we'll put it at 4 1/4 because that's half of 8.5. And we'll just run that up, and now we have a very easy card base. This kit comes with a bunch of gold liners for your envelopes. So we're going to take one of those liners and we're going to trim it down, let's put it this way, to 2 3/8 by 3 1/8. Then what you'll do with one of your red scraps is you're going to take your paper trimmer and you're going to slice it here and here. And in fact, let's just trim that off because we won't need that, although that would make a great frame. And then you're going to slice it here, and you're going to slice it here as straight as you can. You could use a paper trimmer if you'd like to, but now you have 2 red strips. And then we need to cut down a couple more pieces. So we're going to take this card base and we're going to trim it to 5 1/4 inches. And then we're going to trim it at 4 inches this way and 4 inches this way. You'll want to save these They're going to be used on one of the cards. And then these will be separated into 2 other cards. We'll also trim this card base down the same way. So trim off 1/4 inch this way. So you're going to bring it to 5 1/8. I'm sorry, 5 1/4. And then you'll go in from either side 4 inches this way and 4 inches this way. These we will not be using, but you could totally get creative and use them if you wish. And we'll keep our paper trimmer here just one more time here because we're going to trim off this piece at the bottom. We're going to trim off 1 1/4 inches. And then we're going to trim off, and you probably want to bring it in this way and use the measurements on this side of your paper trimmer. We're going to trim off another 1/8 inch off here, or you can look at it this way as 2 3/8. That balances it out a little bit more. Okay, let's set our trimmer aside and let's start figuring out which pieces go to which cards. So to try to keep our minds organized while we do this, I put all the scrap pieces that weren't actually on the cards that you make with the kit. I put those over here, and then I've got the extra 6 sheets of cardstock base paper, the white Whisper White that we added to the kit over here. And then all of these in the middle are the ones that came from the card. So let's start with the top stack here. I'm going to take one of the Whisper Whites and add one of these sheets here to that pile. I'm going to add this piece to that pile. I'm going to add, oh, not from this. I'm going to add this banner from that pile and this set of sequins from that pile to this. So that's going to make one card. For the next card, I'm going to take another Whisper White base, and I'm going to grab this red piece and this long piece of sequin trim and this gold piece, and those are going to go together to make a card. The third card is going to use a sheet of Whisper White for the base, this piece here, this smaller piece here, and these green strips. The next card is going to use this striped paper along with this larger label piece, the red strips, another Whisper White base, and we're going to grab this smaller sequin trim for that card. For the next card, the 5th one, we'll need a Whisper White base, we'll need this green, we'll need this strip of red, and we'll need the smaller label piece. The next one just uses this, and then we have a card that just uses this plus 2 pieces of holly leaves, and then the last card uses the remaining pieces. Let's go ahead and start with this card. We're going to go ahead and stamp on the circle using our black ink and the largest stamp that says Merry Christmas Wishes. And it doesn't matter where you stamp it on the circle as long as it's centered, because you can rotate it and then it will be upright or in the right direction, okay? So we'll move the ink aside, and I want to show you one that is similar to the one that we're going to make. This is the card that the kit wants you to make. We're going to do ours a little bit differently. We're going to go ahead and adhere ours directly to the card base instead of putting it up on dimensionals. And I left a little bit of adhesive off the edge here. We're going to add that to the right side of our card, as straight as we want to try to get it, so that it kind of goes over the edge. And then we'll trim that up. And I'm doing that on purpose because we only have the berries and 2 leaves. And if you put it right in the middle, it's gonna look a little off balance. We don't want it to look off balance. So we're gonna go ahead and make it off balance already so that we can put our holly leaves elsewhere. Okay, so let's take this, the little set of berries, and you know you have these little edges here from your dimensionals. You gotta use those. Don't just use the center part. Always use the edges as well. And we'll stick that adhesive on the back of these berries. We'll grab some Fast Fuse and add a little bit to the back of each of these leaves. There we go. And then we'll add them to our card right about there and about here. And then we'll stick the berries right about there. Now it's not completely finished yet, but you can see it looks pretty darn cute. We need to add some of these pieces, so let me show you that trick real quick. I won't do that on all the cards where these are added, but this is a really fast and easy way to add those tiny little sequins. Now you don't have to have really tiny fingers or fingernails or a paper, you know, something special to lift them up. You just need your tongue, which it's kind of gross, but it really works. So what I did is I flattened the card back out again. I'm going to take the fine tip glue, and if it helps to take a bit of scrap paper first and make sure that you have all the bubbles gone, you should, you actually should do that. So squeeze it out a little bit so that this is going downward and you've got the bubbles all released from the tip of the glue. And then we're going to go ahead and add some little drops of glue here and there, and very, very small amounts, as if they're just tiny, tiny little raindrops. Okay, and then you can close it back up. And with the fine tip glue, there is a tiny little pin that needs to be inserted into the end in order to close it properly. And next we'll bring out our little spool of sequin trim here, and we're going to grab off 5 little sequins from the end, and you lick your finger. You just get it a little moist, and then you take and make sure that it's patted off. So it's not super wet, but it's just a little bit damp in order to pick up one of the sequins, and then you place it right over where that glue dot is and land it. Just put it right on top. So we'll lift it up again and we'll drop it by just kind of pushing your finger down until it releases. And the moisture on your hands will last for a few sequins. I think I re-wet it just now. So, and if that grosses you out, it's your card, right? But if it grosses you out, go ahead and just get a little sponge next to you. Just use real water. There we go. And then just let that dry. Okay, that's the magic of how to put this sequins on real easily without pain. I won't show you that on all the cards, but that's how I'm applying them. This next card is another off-center card, so you can see when I fold it, it's on the lower right corner this time where the design is. We're going to punch out those other 2 holly leaves, and we're going to apply them with Fast Fuse. Now, when I mount my stamps onto the clear blocks, I purposefully make them not straight on the block. So I could have put this on a bigger block and tried to straighten them out, but then I rely on the block to help guide me when I'm putting the stamp on, and I don't want to do that. I want to rely on the stamp image instead. So I kind of put it on there kitty wampus, so it makes me pay more attention to the actual image. And we're just going to stick those down right like that onto the card, and then here is where I'll apply that fine tip glue and add some little gold berries. For this third card, I already added the small sequins around the wreath here and there, just a few of them. You can add more. And I took a piece of vellum and stamped Season of Cheer on that vellum so I could see if it would fit into the wreath. And sure enough it does. Now I didn't use the Stamp-A-Majig to actually put it in there, but I just wanted to make sure that it fit by itself. So we're going to take that stamp, Season of Cheer, and we're going to stamp that in the center of our wreath. And there is our third card. These are easy, aren't they? Super easy cards, which is why if you are somebody that has to reproduce a lot of cards for Christmas, doing it with a kit like this and in this way is really going to be beneficial to you. The next card uses these pieces here. We'll just set this aside for a minute. We're going to stamp on our white piece with the same stamp, Season of Cheer. And then we're going to take our red strip and we're going to put a little trim on the end. Now you could use a banner punch to do this, but here's the trick. You're just going to go from a corner to the middle, aim right to the middle. And then after that you're going to go to the other corner and aim to that exact same spot in the middle. And then you just pull that off and you have a nice little banner piece there. So we're going to set that. We're not going to stick it down yet, but we're going to set it sort of, I don't know, off, not completely in the middle, but up a little higher. And then we're going to take our stamp, this one here, that could be a tree or a branch, and we're going to make it be a branch. And we're going to stamp down a piece here. And then before re-inking, we're going to stamp it again, like that. And notice that's the reason I don't have this stuck down yet, because that way I can move it around. Now I want to make sure that when I lay the label over the top, that I'll be able to see that peeking out. So now I'm going to position it so that my label piece is showing that little branch there. And then I'm going to move it out of the way after I re-ink one more time here. And I'm going to position this stamp and then move the branch and stamp it down. Stamp it again, and then stamp it one more time, like so. Now we can go ahead and stick our strip down. Let's make sure that our label, there we go, we're going to put it right about there. And if you want to, you can use grid paper like I have underneath here. That way you can make sure that your strip is nice and straight as you're laying it down. Kind of use those guidelines here on the sides. And then we're going to flip this over and we're going to add some dimensionals to the back. Again. Then this is going to get stuck down on the front of our card. And then the last step is adding a few sequins. This kit comes with envelopes and envelope liners. So if that is something that you'd like to do with some of your envelopes, put lining in them, then I'm going to show you quickly how to do that. You're going to flip over your envelope liner and you're going to put strong adhesive at the top portion of your liner. And then you'll open up your envelope and carefully, without getting the adhesive close to the actual adhesive here, you're going to slip it down in and push it all the way to the bottom and then press it in place. Next, you're going to flip over your envelope and you're going to put a score line. Now, if you don't have a paper trimmer, because you're doing the kit without one, then you could use like the back of a butter knife and a ruler, but something to help give the envelope liner a crease, because it's a very, very strong piece of gold cardstock. So we're going to line it up so that our crease line from our envelope is going along the little section here of our paper trimmer, and we'll just use the scoring blade to reinforce that area so that when we flip it over, you can see that we have a little crease line in there. And now we can close our envelopes very easily. The fifth card that we're going to make is going to look almost identical to the one that is in the card kit. So we're going to pull out our Whisper White card base, our striped piece, these two little guys here, and the larger little panel. And we're going to stamp that with Oh Joy. Then we're going to trim both of these, and we're going to trim them kind of at an angle, corner up, the opposite corner up, so we're sort of making that same look. Now it's good to go. Let's put this on the front of our card base. See, almost identical. Okay, next card. For our sixth card, you're going to need these pieces. We're going to cut this in half here. And we're going to go ahead and stick these in place on our designer paper piece. So to put adhesive along all these strips at once, I like to stick them really close together, at least doing two at a time, and I run the adhesive right down both of the strips at the same time. Now this one's wide and it's already connected, so you can just run your adhesive down there like that. Okay, now we're going to use our grid paper again just to help us get everything nice and straight. And we're going to add these little strips. Oh, I'd probably go about, let's go 2 inches down. There we go. Okay, so I've got 2 inches from the top of my card to here. And then these two pieces, hey, they're already kind of stuck together here. We can put that one in place. And then the next one right there. Then you'll flip it over and you'll trim off any excess. And we're going to grab these 2 tree stamps. And we're going to start with this one in the middle, inking with our black ink, and stamp it down right about there. And then we'll stamp 2 more off to the sides here. And then this one will go right in between. Then we'll stamp our greeting, Season of Cheer, on this small piece. And this will be put up on dimensionals and placed right about there on the card. Let's go ahead and flip this over and add this to our card base. And then we'll add some sequins. And here's that finished card. We're on to card number 7 now. For that card, you're going to need these pieces, the Whisper White, the gold, and the red. And we're going to stamp on the red. I'm just going to flip this over because there's so much glare on it. I'm going to stamp on the red with the Oh Joy. And we'll add that to our gold layer. And now before I put dimensionals on that, I'm actually going to fold our card base. I'm going to weave our ribbon back and forth so we have it in thirds here, just like that. And let's make it kind of lay somewhat like a little bow, I guess. But we want it to stick out from this piece. So we're going to have it like that, and then we'll take our dimensionals. And this is where having, you know, the edges really comes in handy, because you can kind of hold down a bunch of them at once if you do a strip of them like that. You just want to make sure that it will hide underneath your panel here. So then we'll go ahead and we'll put a couple dimensionals on the top and bottom of that panel like that. Let's peel off all the backings, and we'll just lay this right on top. We have one more card to go. Our 8th and final card does not have any stamped words on the front. We're going to go ahead and start with this piece, adding it to our card base. Then we're going to add our banner strip right down the middle, about 1/2 inch away from the top of the designer paper. And then we'll use our dimensionals again. We're going to fold our sequin trim in half. We're going to lay it down right on the top of our banner piece, and we'll just stick a couple dimensionals here and there. Now we want to make sure again that our our label will cover up those dimensionals. So make sure, you know, keep checking, just hold it above like that. It's a super, super quick kit to put together. So if you are stressed at the holidays and you need some quick and easy Christmas cards, this is the way I would do it. I'd get this kit and run with it. There's our 8th card. Then don't forget to add this message to the inside of all your cards. You'll have 80 completed Christmas cards in no time. This times 10 will give you 80. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial video that I shared with you today on the Watercolor Christmas Project Kit, page 34 in the 2017 Holiday Catalog from Stampin' Up! My name is Rachel Tessman. Again, I'm at stampyourartout.com. Thank you all for watching. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.